All right. So, Mr. Bender has been an incredible asset to the training department for this company in terms of taking the road and us giving them little special missions here and there. You know, it started off with, let's test you, let's see what we can do. And then first time it worked out, and we're like, all right, let's give them something a little more. Let's give them a little something more. And then it got to the point of where we brought on Mr. Alvin Warren, who we knew from the time that we were hiring him, we were going to make him into a trainer from the second that we hired him. And we said, Mr. Chad Bender, we want to send you out to train a trainer. Mr. Chad Bender did a very darn good job because Mr. Alvin Warren's sitting in this room here today. Mr. Chad Bender, you're awesome. A little round of applause for Chad Bender.
And look how cute he is. I mean, seriously, he's not allowed to train females anymore because he's so cute that they can't stay focused.
Do I get a chip for that?
Yeah. You do.
Just a one time.
You get two, bro. You get two. Being cute, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. I'm glad that I could be here and talk to you guys. I do want everyone to stand up for a brief moment. As my first executive decision, since I'm now in charge. Do I get to stand up?
Made with power.
I just want everyone to take a stretch. It's been a long day. A lot of information going around. Thank you. Right? Show of hands, has anybody here done refresh training?
With this company?
Let's stick with just this for this company. And keep your hand up if you've done this outside of your home market. Okay, so a fair number of people. It's a lot of people actually. So I think you guys can see what's going on from the way that this meeting is now compared to what we had 3 months ago. How many people have been added to this room? It's probably 50%. Am I right? Mm-hmm. And with the current projections that we have, the number of people who are expecting to add within the next 3 months, we're going to need that. We're not going to fit in this room. So there's a lot of growth, and there's a lot of people that are changing locations and traveling around. Kelly McMurtry from Philadelphia, New York. Yes. Philadelphia, right. So she came to my market and she pitched there for Black Friday. She came back again and did 2 full weeks in December for Christmas. A gentleman that I trained went from Pittsburgh, where I live, it's a small market. He went from there to Tennessee, where we don't even have a market, just to pitch in their stores. They haven't been worked in months, so that was virgin first market. Have you guys noticed this as well at your markets? Lots of people moving and changing locations. Mm-hmm. Not the trainers, though, the agents, the reps. There's a lot of that going on. So it's really nice that we're all here and we can talk about like the standardization of procedure. So to give you an example, Kelly came to Pittsburgh. She had her own store, but she left before the end of the store was done. So I went and pitched a day in the store. And when I get there, of course, the first thing I do, I'm used to all my stores being the same setup, right? So I go in, I'm looking under the booth, I'm like, I can't pitch with this. Where's the sponge? It's over here in this container thing. What's that? What's this squeegee for? Where's my bucket? Got the trash cans that you guys ever. I'd never seen it before, right? The whole big counterpiece thing with the vinyl thing. I was like, what is this? Ooh, I don't understand why it's all here. So did I lose a pitch because of that? Possible. You don't want that to happen, but this seamless structure of having everything standardized is not only making us a lot more money, but it's also giving us a very strong reputation and a stronger unity. Do you agree?
Yes.
Cool. So this is about refresh training and special ops. I want to give you you can stand if you want to, I don't care. If it encourages you to participate.
That was a yes or no.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with you.
Filming, we should probably say.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right.
Unless you're going to feel all loud.
So Rick, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what I've been doing. I live in Pittsburgh, which right now does not have a grocery chain. So we are limited to the occasional Sears and Walmarts. There are about 26 Walmarts total within a 60-mile radius. So as far as that market goes, we're going to call it a market because that's where I live. We want to do one store a week. And if we had a Sam's or a Sears, which is a different story because Tesla has a strong presence there, it's about a store and a half per week. So it's not a huge market. So what I've been doing to participate, because I love my job, lots of people love their job. I also love training. I think it's a really great opportunity. So I've been taking Rick up on a lot of opportunities to travel around and instill myself in another place and help people, which is what I really love doing at my core. I love it. So I spent 2 weeks in Detroit right after our Christmas contest. By the way, I'm still wanting to find out who placed. I think 6th place should get this banner. I want to win something. I might be 6th. I just want to win something. All right?
Number 7 gets
Anyway. Where was I? So I went to Detroit for 2 weeks. Then I went to California for 2 weeks with Mr. Alvin Warren here, my brother from Oklahoma. And in between that time after Christmas up until now, the conference, I've been having refresh trainees come from different areas of the country and work with me in Pittsburgh in my home market. So I'm getting a nice taste of both, working with them where I want them to be under me, like I'm their manager, and in other places where I'm not their manager, such as Alvin and Alabama. And in Michigan, which is Miss Lopez, I believe. So I did take a picture for you from Detroit, beginning of January. That's not it.
Thank you.
It's this one. Yeah. Oh, there he's great. Yeah, so it was really fun to work there. This is my rental car buried in almost a foot of snow. Walmart is behind it, but it's not the one that we were working at. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
When I trained in June with Mr. Chad Jude, we had a Walmart. Who was there with me? Someone was good here was with me. Yeah, there was me. It was one right down the street. We did that looking out. We did it right.
That North Ave Walmart.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's Bourbonnais, Illinois. Bourbonnais.
And we also worked together in North Ave.
Yeah, you were there too. We overlapped a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to Detroit to do a new hire and 2 refresh trains. So there were 3 people that I was working with. The deal was to go for 2 full weeks because there was a new hire. Otherwise, we might have pushed just to a week for the typical refresh train. We had some conflicts with the weather. I think they hit a record low when I was there for 40 decades. 4 decades. For 40 decades. No, for 4 decades. For 40 years, the lowest recorded temperature that they had was the Monday after I got here on Friday, and it was negative 40 degrees during the day. And we were working in Division 1 Walmart, which if you guys don't know what Division 1 Walmart, it's the non-grocery Walmart. So it was a little tiny place with some lovely people inside. But this is something we had to deal with, and it's just, I mean, this was kind of the same way. So here's another one that kind of was a good metaphor for Detroit in the middle of the winter. Yeah. So I went there for 2 weeks. It's a great opportunity. Miss Lopez, you might recognize the gentleman in the middle here. That's, well, we'll just call him Darren, because that's his name. And we worked him for 2 weeks, and this is one of his second week that I was there, his set, which I think is a pretty nice set. This is a guy that had been doing, I think the most he'd ever done was 20-something.
Most average was like 10 to 15.
10 to 15. And the Saturday that I worked with him, the first Saturday I was in the store with him, he did 55, I think, by himself.
Woo!
If this guy ever loved life, it was that Saturday. I've never seen anybody so happy in my life. That's great. I left Detroit and then we went to California. Much different atmosphere. And this is great too because you get to work in a lot of different chains. Except for me, especially, I'm working only in Walmarts. It's the only one that I have at home. Well, and occasional Sears and Sam's Club. So it's really great to try out this Safeway. You got HEB down in the south too. So anybody that is traveling out of market to train or to retrain, you're going to learn a lot just from working in different areas in different stores. This was a pretty fun store to work in. And of course, I had some off days after a couple of issues of the bridge. And our booth did not arrive.
That's awesome.
you guys were just talking about this earlier, you know, we're paying for people's food and gas, and we don't want to waste a whole lot of time. So if it's going to take 2 hours and go to Target and buy a red sheet and a card table and anything else that might work, even if you don't do any shows on this, the benefit that the trainee gets out of this, you feel like you benefited something?
I told you right
from
there. I
doing
know
this?
exactly what to do if something goes wrong.
It took a long time to build this booth, but we had it up by early afternoon, and even if for nothing more than just training purposes, I really appreciated that we were able to do that. I actually think it's pretty presentable. What do you guys think?
Some guy would go,
I mean, I did a couple shows on this booth. I did a 13-piece turnout on this booth. These are all stock boxes. What's that black in the top?
I would
It's
like
a
to
card table. It's a rectangular card with the legs folded under. It's just sitting on top. Yeah. So when it gets wet, it's all like glossy and slimy looking. Beautiful. These are all slicer boxes. They're slicer boxes. Everything is slicer boxes. One slicer box missing. That's incredible. You can't tell from the photo is it comes with the shoe.
It's mine.
Wait, can you say that?
Oh, it's Giannis size.
It's a size of the apple.
That's all right. That's definitely workable.
So we did we only got a few shows out of here before I texted Mr. Jude a photo, and he said, no, don't do shows. Only for training purposes, but before that we did a 12 and a 13, 2 of the shows. So I think for the money we made the company taking this effort and not just waiting for our shipment and substitute a classroom day, I think was beneficial from just the work we wrote and for the training. If anybody needs a diagram, So yeah, so we're working for the standard operating procedure. We've already gone over a lot of this stuff. I was saying that to Rick after our first classroom day. There was so much stuff that I had planned on talking to you guys about that we've already gone over. So we don't want to reiterate it, but the last conference we outlined these 7 essentials. We've got more efficient scheduling now with the Google Drive, and Justin just did this the other day with the booth setups. So I don't have to go over that. So thank you, Justin. And then we got the standardized scripts too. But this goes for pitch and non-pitch stuff, because if we're going to be growing and we're going to have all these people moving around all the time, what that equates to is just losing shows if we're not using these standardized procedures. And that goes even for the people, if you ever do refresh trains for people that are working alone in their own store area. Like I had a guy from Jacksonville, Florida come up and stay with me for a week. Is there even a market near Jacksonville, Florida? Does anybody know?
no market.
There's no market, it's just him. And then this is stuff that he needs to know. He needs to start incorporating this system, because what happens when there is a market, or when he moves, which he's doing now. He's moving to the Carolinas. Do we have a market in the Carolinas? We will. Right, exactly. And we want to have faith in the process, because every agent like this gentleman will be a part of the market sooner or later. What do we have now, 100 agents?
Yep.
What's our goal by the,
1,000.
is that by the end of this year?
Yep, that's correct.
So it was 400, now it's down to 1,000? Yeah. So,
If you're gonna do it, you might as well do
Yeah.
it big.
great,
Don't you think?
yeah.
Am I right or am I wrong?
So we're really not helping ourselves by not incorporating this stuff. I think you can all appreciate why. Because especially as DMs, we don't want people coming into our market and then changing all of our booth setups to be the way that they want it to be, just because that's what they're used to at home by themselves. Because then it's creating a casualty for our own agents in our own market. Cool. I think I just said that, didn't I? And it all equates to this too, organic transition. Because if we're growing, it all has to be organic, doesn't it? All has to work.
Less spots for
Is that our cell tower service?
That's matched with Walmart's from 2012.
Looks like it's beautiful.
Damn, I'm really glad that we have Safeway.
Yeah, right?
My
Yeah.
part of the country's a little bare.
So is mine. I'm like the only dude out there.
I just like how on the west side, Colorado's pretty concentrated.
Cool.
I'm not even running them yet.
Cool. I think I went over this as well. Yep.
Yeah, you should.
Cool. And then as far as refresh training, you guys know that just like a new hire, we can probably say the same thing for a refresh trainee. They're probably broke. They're probably on the verge of quitting. All the refresh trainees, in fact, a lot of the normal trainees I've had as well, have been on the border of just doing something else, taking a job at McDonald's or Walmart or Subway just to make ends meet. So we have to approach our refresh trainees the same way we're approaching our new hires, humanizing ourselves, understanding that they may not have any money. Any questions? No.
I outline a couple of ways that I do that.
We like to call it finesse. And the biggest one I think is know your motivator, because it's not always going to be a dollar amount. We always like to pitch this job as dollars, dollars, dollars. I've met multiple people that love to do this job because they love the job and they're not interested in the money. You one of them?
It's the only reason I'm still around.
Yeah, I trained a guy from
I
Rochester,
didn't make money
this
for a
retired
couple of
military
years.
guy. He just wanted to talk to people. He didn't care. You guys have seen people that get up there and they're all like, they don't make the sale, so they don't know what to do. So they're all like, I didn't make the sale. This guy got up there and he was like, who thinks that's a good deal? Anyone. Anyone. I said, then how'd your show go? He's like, oh man, it was fantastic. Can I do it again? Let me do the second show. Like, you're gonna sit down for a minute. Okay. And someone that's like that, you're not gonna motivate him with a dollar sign. You're gonna motivate him by having pride in his job. And there's a woman that works down in Texas right now that I trained in October. Does anybody know Elizabeth Cosillo? I'm sure a couple of you guys do. And she's one of these people. You can throw dollar signs at her all day long. She's not going to give. She doesn't care. She wants to do the job because she has faith in the system and she appreciates the product and she feels like she's changing people's lives. So when we're turning people on doing all their shows and keeping the pace up, just throwing the dollar sign at them is not always going to work. And it's not always having pride or respect as well. It could be respecting your trainer. And so for that reason, there's one that I always like to throw in. It goes along the lines of, you guys ever take improv classes?
Yes, and.
You can tell me what yes and means, Dustin.
Never say no to your partner or an audience. Always say yes to what they offer you and then rebound with your own information.
Good job, Dustin.
Jesus.
Can you give us also an example of how that might incorporate or manifest itself to what we do here?
Into this, so, no.
Richard Burke.
Oh, I actually have manually. Yes, and they're good, aren't they? Yeah. What kind do you have? Yeah. Yay.
Yeah, that's great that you bring that up because I've seen so many people knock it. I've seen so many people say, what do you have? You know, Pampered Chef, you have two different attachments for that, you know. It's $50 more than ours. You should probably just buy this.
That's what I have.
I think I should get mind frame.
Cool, thank you.
When he came down to teach me doing that mind frame, don't let their instructions get you down. Let them go, yeah, it's a great idea. What kind do you have? You know.
Exactly what you were saying. Participation is participation.
It's not only like a pitch artist customer thing. It's definitely like a trainer trainee thing. Like the trainers like it's got to be that. Like you don't go to the trainee and say, no, you did this wrong. You did this wrong. It's yes, you succeeded in this so well. And when you get this, and this, which we're going to go through right now, it's going to be even better. If you frame everything negatively, they're just going to be negative, and you will burn them out. So when it's always yes, you did this, great job, and we're going to work on this right now so you can be even better. It just makes them feel like $1 million.
And along that same line, has anyone ever taken trainees' advice during training?
Yes.
Change something?
Oh my God,
Keep your hand up
Michael
if you thought it
Vogel.
was actually beneficial and better than what you were going to do.
Yes.
So, do you have an example? I'll use my own example, and then if anyone has an example.
Oh my God.
So I'm in a store in a fancy schmancy Walmart, which I don't have a whole lot of, and I've never really worked at fancy schmancy Walmart. So we're doing our normal value. We're getting really nice sized tips. Everyone's participating, and not that many people are buying. This is only the second show the trainee has seen, and she comes up to me. This is Cosio, by the way, and so credit to you. And she says to me, "You're doing your announcement wrong." Now, on day 1 or 2 of training, How many of us are going to say, whatever? I get that from the deli person all the time. Why don't you say one more enthusiasm? Why don't you sound happy for once when you do it? So, I realized that. So she says, she essentially tells me to do the special event Valley without even knowing really what the special event Valley is. She says you got to put all the emphasis on this, and just they don't care about your free stuff. I wasn't going to do it. This is a while ago. It was before I worked a lot of these special event Valley type stores. So did I take her advice? Not the first show. Did the show go the same way that the one before did?
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did. So Chad Duke did this when I was in training with him in June. Not myself, but with the gentleman that was with me. The gentleman that was with me said, I think I need to do the ticket. This is your ticket. I want to hand the free gifts out at the beginning. And we're looking for our own perfect pitch. So he said, go ahead. I don't think it's going to change anything, but go ahead and try it out. So taking that, I'm going to tell her, okay, I'm going to try it your way, and we'll see what happens. And it was like a 21-piece turn or something. They all showed up. And they loved it, and they were spraying at the price cut all over the place like crazy. So that was kind of an awakening moment for me. It's something I would continue to do with every trainee and refresh training. Another example, this guy from Florida, our overhead's out. How many of you guys use the speaker at the counter to Valley from? A lot of us probably do. Are there any Walmart regulations that say you can't take both of your portable PA systems, put one on top of the produce cooler, one at the back on top of the milk cooler, use both microphones to create your own overhead? How many of us have 3 portable PA systems that we could use? You guys know how far you can walk away from those things?
I do not know how far.
We tested it. We tested it too. It's halfway across the Walmart. Just halfway across the Walmart.
Just put the antenna all the way up.
Yeah, and you turn that volume up, it sounds just like, you face it towards the ceiling, it sounds
Yeah,
just like
lay it
an
on
overhead.
its back so it's facing straight up,
Yeah.
and it acoustically
Right.
comes back down off the
Right.
ceiling.
So we can learn a lot from our trainings. Those are things you shouldn't shy away from. Did anyone have an example they'd like to share as well? Because I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I've got one.
Wait, I got.
So, no.
have one anyways.
Well,
I'm curious.
it's when I used to travel and train. It was the best one I can think of. Was I'm sure Sabal told me something when I was training him. I'm sure he did. I can't think of it right now. But there was one that I was doing a knife pitch very serious because I was the knife guru and I was very serious. And the trainees were like, so you know, in here, like you can be nice. Like, I know you're serious. But, like you can smile sometimes. It's okay. And I was like,
Exactly what happened to me.
oh.
Was your
All right.
instinct, you don't know what you're talking about?
Well, no, because I had done like 3 or 4 pitches in a row that were bombing, and I was like, all right, guys, what do you see? What's going on? And then they were like, well, we didn't want to say anything, but in this neighborhood, people are pretty friendly. And I was like, oh. So then I did like a super nice, friendly, like fun, like, but bam, check this out. Woo, it's cool, right? And then all of a sudden, 7, and we were over par the rest of the time. It was like, man.
One more from anyone?
It wasn't actually a specific piece of it. Like, the 2 guys that I retrained, Nagy and Schultz, neither of them actually like came up to me with advice. I just noticed that they both cut their onions a little bit differently than I did. Then I just started like, I would always simply do chopped, and both of them had a way of going, look, you can make these slices, or you could break it up into onion rings, and then they would switch over to the julienne and chop it up, and I do that every time now, because I really like it.
How many of you guys knew about the way Dustin's doing his onions? Minced first, what's left becomes the onion ring, cut both ends off. Does anybody find that
How is
useful
something-
information? I'm just
I don't
curious at this
think
point
that's
about
He
that.
did talk about it during his PowerPoint.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And I was confused. I don't get how there's anything left after you mince it.
You just don't finish cutting the onion.
the whole thing.
You pop the top of the onion off, and then you can pop the onion rings out. Pull them right off of each other.
All right then.
All right, cool. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. As far as this, yes and goes, this is really helpful for places like New York that have lots of different opinions on the way things should be done.
What?
Or what we had in Texas. I know you were down in Texas. You were in Texas as well. Chad Jude was in Texas, and so was Miss Lopez. So there's lots of different opinions on, and I got phone calls from some people saying they're just extremely frustrated with the way things were being handled, just because they were getting a lot of conflicting opinions. Right. So just incorporating a little bit of this yes and I think would alleviate a lot of that frustration. Current reps.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the same note, when I typically train, a lot of you guys know me, I'm pretty mellow. I'm pretty, if you go from logical or sentimental side, I fall more on the sentimental side. I like to humanize and relate to my trainees a lot. But I have to allow myself one time to really get pissed off. And I have to force that sometimes. Yeah, because it's very important if you're humanizing yourself and you're letting them kind of lead the way with this yes and philosophy, you still need to maintain the control. And especially if you want them to respect you. And if they're not a money motivated person, they're going to be motivated by your respect for them and the pride in their own work. So if we don't allow ourselves to really be human and tell them what we think, we don't want to sugarcoat too much. If you're the opposite and you're the tough love kind of trainer, my opinion is to swap it and allow yourself one or two times to really listen and not shut them down. I think it's going to build a much stronger rapport and pride in the job.
$20 bill. That's true.
What's next? When I was in Michigan, the gentleman had a nice breakthrough on one of those early weekend days, like Thursday, Friday. Has anyone ever given their trainee more than one show in a row, or more than two shows in a row when they have a breakthrough?
Especially refresh trains.
Right, and especially refresh trains, especially once they have that breakthrough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they get really excited, don't they?
Yeah, because they're like, oh my God, I'm finally making money. I can't allow.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we get a little bit of a padding from the training bonus, and I take that to heart, meaning that I should give them the opportunity to really pad that paycheck out, to really feel like they've accomplished more than what they normally would have. So I think that's just really, really strong reinforcement.
It's especially great if they have that breakthrough or they blinked, because then their next show, they do like 5 or 6 or whatever, and they just feel like rock stars.
Has anybody ever been turned down from a refresh, or if you've offered them a second or a third show? Have any of them ever said no to you? When they make the breakthrough, though, when they really did it, have they?
Oh, no, right after a breakthrough?
Yeah, they have a breakthrough, they do a 10-piece turn.
Right after breakthrough.
You know what, I think you should do another one, that would be fantastic. Yeah. Would you like to do that?
Oh, yeah, great job.
Oh, yeah. Then they do a 12. You know what, I'm actually going to lunch. Does that work for you guys? Yeah, and then... when I refresh train, especially now that we have these 7 essentials, I don't like to overburden people with them. But refresh train, if they're going 5, 6, 7 days, I'm going to do 2 a day. 2 essentials per day. They're going to have a notebook, and I'm going to dictate the 7 essentials to them. They're going to write it down. All 7 at the beginning. And then they're going to start outlining them. Hopefully by this point you've already seen a show. Hopefully you've seen more than one show in your other trouble areas, and that's where you'll start. So either 1 essential per day, kind of like we do with the new hires, or 2 essentials per day. There's no more than that. Otherwise they're just getting their mind too clouded. I'm also of the opinion that when you refresh train someone, since they have so many bad habits already instilled inside them, they're not going to get it until the following day. Anybody agree?
Yes.
All right. You tell them to greet in the set. Do the greet in the set. You don't do the greet in the set. Tell them to greet in the set again. Don't do it. The next day you come in, the first show, perfect greet, perfect set. Have you guys seen this before?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So don't be too hard on them. Just because I think it is. Also with this notebook, I'm making them write notes during refresh training on all of the points that they're going over, and even keeping their show log in there and all the adjustments that I give them during their show. Not until the end of the week do I tell them they're going to be keeping the notebook, and they're going to use it as their personal kind of checklist. The checklist that I put in there, along with these adjustments and the 7 essentials, the checklist is what I make on day 2. It's the 5 things usually that they have to conquer before refresh training can be concluded. You guys know what I'm talking about. Usually it's like 2 essentials that they're missing. And there's 3 other things, like eye contact, wait, see these death stares all around. body language is moving around. But that's stuff that you can handle over the phone. So. But I do make them a checklist to give them something to keep track of. You know, when they conquer one, they can cross it off. When they conquer the second one, they can cross it off. Gives them kind of a timeline. The last one's pretty self-explanatory. If you really care about your trainees, you'll help them with things that are outside of pitching, like their recaps. You guys checking refresh trainees recaps when you do it? Follow-up call, making sure they're getting paid. Does Nancy look at everyone?
No.
Well, she's nice to me on the phone, but.
Yeah, that's what's bothering them.
What's this one for?
Well, until I say, I gotta work.
She's supposed to give it back to you because you gotta deal with this shit. Everybody has to deal with it. Does anybody have anything they'd like to contribute to this as far as tactically refresh training goes? Do you feel that there's anything that's really important that should be on the list?
I think it's important to whoever their previous trainer was, that you get that out of the way first of all. The objection of, well, this is how blah blah taught me. It's like, we're not worried about that anymore, but not in a way that is like, oh, they were awful, oh, they were terrible, oh, they taught you wrong, to positively turn their previous experience. Well, they laid the foundation, and now I'm here to build up from there. That kind of thing.
Yeah, and especially people that have been with the company for a while now. The one guy from Florida had been with us for a year, and the only person he knew was Chad Jude. It's the only phone number he had, and the office phone number. So adjustment calls were like very difficult for this gentleman. But just pitching on corporate culture too can help with that. Guys, we had these meetings. There's like all these people now that really care about you. We've outlined all this stuff for you. I'm gonna make you a whole notebook with all this stuff in it. And that usually, what's that?
I'm going to piggyback on that.
Oh yeah, and that usually just gives them the motivation to like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm listening. What's what we
Yeah, well, I had a guy in Maryland, Mike Sanchez, who just was done, foot out the door, completely finished, just not going to do it. I took him out, and while we went shopping for a trash can and a chef's mat, I just talked the whole time. He and I, what are you doing in your life? And this is the company, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, this is how it is where I'm from. I'm sorry you kind of got left out. And by the end of the car ride, he was like frothing at the mouth to do it again and try it again. And then on top of that, while you're there with them, do you like take them out to dinner?
Oh yeah.
At some point, do you like?
I think Chad does just take them out.
We went and saw a movie.
Yeah.
When we trained, you know, all that stuff can help.
Oh yeah, for sure. Nice report building stuff.
I know one thing I thought was helpful, and you can tell me, was before you got to Michigan, I had 3 people who were going to retrain, or 2 you were going to retrain and blah, 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 but I sent you a synopsis on each person, let you know their strengths and their weaknesses.
That's true, you did.
So that you knew when you got there what you might need, what direction you need to head.
Yeah, if we could have some sort of policy procedure on that would be, I think, really useful for people that are coming from places where there is a GM. But that only works in the scenario if they have someone that they're already, that's still with us, that trained them initially, or that oversees them.
Yeah.
Going kind of like what Dustin was saying about about their previous trainer, especially if they're the old school, like been doing this for 17 years, pitchmen, where like you can just smell the sale on their old style of show. And I think it's very important, just like at the beginning of our own pitch, when you're giving everybody a reason to come up to the counter, you don't have to knock what their other trainers did, but you let them know, like, here's why we're going to do it my way. You got to give them good reason to do that, for that to even get through to them, because they're so ingrained in like years and years of
And that could just be as simple as, that was working for a long time, but it's actually shifted a little bit.
We found out it works a lot this way.
Every adjustment is a turn with the refresh training.
I just have a lot of things to say.
I think it's and this goes with the SN, but I think it's really important when you show up for a refresh train to, when you see their show, to really remark on the things that are already good and already solid and do not need to be changed.
Well, that's when you give them the stick sandwich, just, you know, something.
Right, but that might be a whole section of the show. It's not just a small adjustment. Like when I went to Virginia, their demos were awesome. Like the actual demo section of the show was fantastic. There was some stuff that I've stolen from them because they were so good. But the whole rest of the show was a mess. So, I think it's really important to not make them feel like I'm here and I'm going to change everything you're doing and it's all going to be different now, and it's.
I agree with this, but not immediately. What I'm doing is watching 2 shows minimum before I ever do a show for them.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Because I don't want to influence their show with my show, because I'm looked at as the expert. So I want to see 2 full shows, maybe 3 even, before I say anything about it. Because how many times we get lucky and have like a random 6-piece turnout of the it's awful, right?
Actually,
The second
you wait
show's
to
a
say
0.
something, you wait until you've seen 2 full shows before you even say a word.
Yep. Positive or
Right.
negative.
Just my experience retraining in general, I usually, whenever I would bump into, when I'm here to fix, not so much fix you, but I always like to ask people, why do you think I'm here with you? And what ends up happening is you get this real honesty from them where they go, you know what? I've only been doing whatever they've been doing, whether it was, our thing was a little different daily, but it's the same thing. They give you the honest, I think it's this because I haven't been hitting this. And then that's where you start, because now you can't go back up against what you just told me. That's where we'll start fixing, and I can build a report from there, because know I'm here to help you out where you think that you're messed up, and it's easiest to start there because they already agree with you.
That is raw.
It's because we care, because the company is investing a lot of money in these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make them feel like
our rental cars, our
toilet
food, our hotel paid for, all in the effort to help someone make more money.
Plus, they're smart. They know.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Some of them.
I mean, it's like school, when you're failing, you don't report a whole lot less than that.
Actually,
Yeah, I think you're here because
someone said that. Food. This is more of a proposition than anything, because I really wanted to get everyone's opinion on it. Because it seems the general idea here is that we're learning a lot from our trainees.
I bet this is about what I was over there.
Yes. Are you sure? Probably isn't.
Giving out the numbers to all the other trainers, other people you can call if you can't get everything.
Oh, no, that's not what this is about.
Oh, never mind.
This is actually similar to that idea. This, we have a lot of information that's stemming at the top and filtering its way down through us, through the trainers, to the trainees. But we all know someone that's been working in the middle of nowhere by themselves without many phone numbers, without a real strong connection. Before we came here, did anybody feel that they were really connected to the rest of the people in this room?
Absolutely.
Right. And how many people in this room? There's like 20 some of us? Mm-hmm. So how do we think that the 100 or 200 or 1,000 reps feel? Probably their own little puzzle piece is all they have in their head. So what my proposal is, as far as this idea goes, if anybody has ever played an MMO before?
Yeah. What up?
Was anyone ever in a guild before?
Yeah. Nerds.
Shut up.
It doesn't matter if you don't know. But I was talking to Chad and Rick about it, and it does work up. I'm just curious to get your feelers for it, for having an online forum established, where not only for us in this room, but for every rep.
Absolutely.
And we have to kind of tweak it a little bit and work it out. But having a place where we can talk and converse, even if it's on our lunch break from our smartphone, and feel connected to the rest of this in this.
Yeah, that's
Right. We can have videos. We're doing these videos. We can have links posted on there when we get new stuff. Nationwide costume contest.
That would be awesome.
My costume contest.
And how motivated do you think we can make people for any random Sunday? Or for any reason?
I think that'd be
And not just per
awesome.
market, but this would be nationwide.
And if it was a,
Put your hand up.
if it was an
Slap
online,
fatties. That's an awesome idea.
I think it's a great idea. I'm curious to hear what. Yeah, we don't have a lot of time, so what do you think?
I used to know that in a situation like that, there would have to be a permanent monitor.
Yeah,
Just to keep it
work that
positive.
stuff out, and maybe you have to finish complete training before you're allowed access or stuff like that, because we don't want any Glassdoor negative reviews and stuff like that, like popping up, that sort of stuff.
Great idea that in the long run, we have a nice, like, our own private website or something. In the meantime, like, when we go back and all have our first team meeting after this conference, why don't we have a private Facebook group? Everybody's on there already anyway.
For everyone.
For everyone.
She won't be like that.
Private 2 hours.
You don't have Facebook?
I have Facebook, I just don't pretend I'm not.
Oh, sorry. Well, I thought you said last time you didn't have Facebook.
Well, see, with that, you can also create an application when it first come in. You have to be a part of it, so it's not just randomly seen. You can do Facebook, you can do a front application.
And all the stuff that we talked about learning from our trainees, you know, these speaker, our PA systems up on top to create our overhead. The ways that we're presenting the show, or anything outside of the show, we're all learning from our trainees, as long as we're open to it. And that's stuff that would easily be defined for everyone. We wouldn't have to come to this room and talk about it for everyone to be aware, Stacey.
It would also be nice just for, I mean, I'm sure for even us, like, sometimes it is hard to get a hold of people for adjustments. If it were a thread where you were just saying, I'm having this trend in the store, sometimes it's not even that you're looking for the perfect adjustment, but you need something else to focus on.
Exactly.
And if someone just, and if it was a thread where people were just looking at our smartphones and saw something pop up, and we've all had similar crazy situations happen where we could say, oh, actually, that just happened to me, and this is how I did it, it worked. And then it would also help filter some of the adjustment calls that, you know, I wouldn't necessarily need to keep trying Rick or keep trying Peter. I just made it.
Especially if any of us were free and not.
Yeah, it would really just give people a sense of connection.
Yeah.
I don't have any more to say about it, though. I mean, it's a proposition that I hope close to my heart, and I think it would be very beneficial to all of us. So I do have a couple leads on who can design a website for us for this forum. I can send an email about that.
Yes, please.
And I'd like to follow through and make sure you see what it gets. So I think that's all that I had to share with everyone.